Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis. Thanks for joining us. It's Monday, April the 20th. We are zooming through this month. Brittany Pacheco, my co-host, joins us from her home. Welcome to the show, Brittany. I think we've got some microphone issues. You might want to turn your microphone on there.
You know what? It's Monday morning. We're having some technical issues on my end. I apologize, but happy Monday. Good morning to everyone.
We're just going to let you take a moment, and we'll come back to you. No, I'm joking with you. Thanks for being here, Brittany. We all have our mornings. I know last Monday seemed like a tough day for me, but we'll make it through so far. We've got some very special guests for you on the show. Dr. Maya Durnovo, our Associate Vice Chancellor of Economic Development and Chief Entrepreneurial Officer. Welcome to the show once again.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. We're joined by one of your proud graduates, Janice Jucker, co-owner of Three Brothers Bakery. Janice, thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's Monday morning.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you're the co-owner of Three Brothers Bakery, and I understand you have a title, the Queen of Disasters. Tell us about that, because you've been through a number of them with Three Brothers Bakery.
Right. At Three Brothers Bakery, my husband, Bobby, and I, we co-own the bakery, and we call ourselves the King and Queen of Disasters. Just to lay the foundation, we have 3 stores here in Houston, and our main store and production facility has been through 4 floods, a fire, and a hurricane, and now a pandemic. And we've survived them all, and we never want to be dethroned.
That's
If we're dethroned, someone's in worse shape than us, so we don't want to be dethroned. So,
just to give someone a bit of your history with HCC, you have a long history with us. You were just mentioning you were in the Goldman Sachs program back in 2012, right?
Yeah, my husband read about the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program in the newspaper. And he said, why don't you apply for this? So I said, okay, I'll apply. I didn't really know what it was at the time, but I said, okay, I'll apply. And really before, I was lucky, I was accepted into the program in the summer of 2012. And it really began a transformation for me and the business. And we learned, before that, I would say I really knew nothing about business. I would definitely say I knew nothing about business. And so this program really taught me kind of the recipe for success, and it's done in modules. And I really credit it because it began my transformation as a business person, and it helped us get through all these disasters, because in order to get through disasters, you have to understand the financials of business. And without that, it's really hard. And so I take my hat off to HCC, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, and everything that's followed. The alumni programs, ICIC, ICCC, all of these programs are offshoots of it.
Now, Janice, your company was owned by your husband's family, and it's been around for decades. So this proves that you're never, I guess, too old to learn. You have a very established business, but you guys were able to learn some vital lessons. And you were talking a little bit before we went on the air about what happened with a business plan you were putting together around Hurricane Harvey, and how you actually needed it when you thought maybe I might not need it.
So what happened with Hurricane Harvey, we had 4.5 feet of water, and when you go through a disaster, you're scrambling, you're trying to make quick decisions, and so you're running in different directions. And first of all, if you've been through a disaster, just don't make any decisions, would be my advice to you. Give it some time. But we looked to move. We wanted to move our main store. So we went to the bank, and the other thing is, we were with a large bank, and then after Harvey, we moved to Amegy Bank, and thank goodness we did, because if we weren't with Amegy, I don't think we would have gotten our PPP loan money last week. I don't think we would have been approved. So that's a little piece of advice. But anyway, I went to the bank, and I said I wanted to get a loan, and we had talked to the SBA, the head of SBA lending previously. So they knew us. And she said, you don't need to come with a whole business plan. just come with like a spreadsheet. And I don't know what happened. I did a business plan and I made 4 copies. I don't even know why I did that. Color, with all the charts and everything. And I walked in and there was a panel of people there in this big conference room. And I actually had to do a pitch. And if I hadn't been through this program, I wouldn't have known even what that was. And so I really got lucky and I had everything at my fingertips. And so because of that, anyway, I did it and I could answer almost every single question. I did have my general manager, CFO with me, and he answered the couple I couldn't. But frankly, I was a little proud of myself that day because I did do it. And we were approved, but then we didn't.
When you're going through a disaster like a hurricane, you can see the hurricane coming. There's going to be some recovery period after the hurricane hits and it moves away. You deal with the flooding or the mitigation of the water. This situation has kind of thrown us all for a loop. How do you prepare as a small business or a medium-sized business to deal with a pandemic where you're shut down and they may say, we don't know when you're going to open back up? How do you deal with something like that?
So this has definitely by far been the hardest disaster that we've had to go through. Because there is no end in sight. But the first 2 principles of disaster recovery still are the same. Number 1 is your people. Find your people. What do they need? Make sure their needs are taken care of. And number 2 is you have to have money. You have to have 2 types of money. First of all, you have to have cash in the bank because you can only pay your employees with cash. You cannot put it on a credit card. And you need what I call long-term money, which is the big money that's really going to get you through this. And so for us, immediately, we knew those 2 steps had to be taken. So one of the other things that, as I saw this coming, and frankly, my CFO GM, he was more on top of it than me. I mean, he was already worrying about this the end of January, beginning of February. And we were going on a vacation and I said, I'll worry about it when I get back. So I let him worry about it. But when we got back, I mean, immediately we were kind of moving into this. And I stayed home. My office is at home. We've grown so much, I don't have an office anymore at the bakery. So I stayed home and I got all our financials in order because I knew I needed that in order to apply for any kind of loans. And I knew we were going to have to apply for something. I didn't know what that something was, but I knew something. And so that's a piece of advice. Have your financials in order and have all your company papers, like your formation papers, your articles of incorporation, any long-term contractual obligations that are in writing, like a lease. Have them all ready to go in a folder in the cloud. Have your financials up to date. And the worst thing that wasn't up to date was really our personal, because we don't, we let that fall by the wayside. So I had to catch all that up and try to get, you're going to need tax returns. You're always going to need a couple of years of tax returns for all related entities. In our case, it's 10 times 2. So I have to have 20 tax returns always ready in this folder. So So because I knew what was going to be needed, for me, it's easy. I have a lot already ready from previous disasters. But the most important thing is you need to have cash in the bank for 3 months. 3 months worth of operation. And most small businesses do not have that.
And you hit the nail on the head right there, because at least I'm hearing from the restaurant business, the profit margins are so low. Having cash on hand for months is literally unheard of. So if you can make it through the first few weeks, what do you do to sustain yourself right now? How are you guys making it through? Are you still getting some business? Have you been able to retain some customers? And what's it look like for you?
So, and one other thing I want to say, it's really important to retain your team. If you can keep your team paid and on hand, you're going to have a whole lot easier time getting yourself ramped back up. So you really need to, in your plan, figure out how am I going to pay everyone? That's number one. And then obviously your rent is going to be the other big issue, and insurance, rent and insurance. So we had to pivot a little, and we were blessed because we've had a lot of good media coverage. And so ABC 13 did a segment on us. And when we were sitting there, we were saying, I should have brought my pie box with me for this, but yeah, if everybody bought a pie, if you bought 1 million pies, if everybody bought one pie who's listening to this, think about all the different companies that you're going to keep afloat if we sell a bunch of pies. And when they aired that, our website went down. And so immediately I had to move to a dedicated server. So that company got money. My coder got money. We're doing some graphics. So the graphics company got money. The printer will get money. And then we were already, the pecan growers, the flour, the sugar, the bakery supply, the boxes, they're all getting business from us. So you have to figure out something that you can sell maybe in mass quantity, which for me is going to be easier than, obviously, I thank God every day we're not a bar. I feel so badly for them. And restaurants, really, it's tough for them too. And then another thing that we did from that, people were calling us and just wanting to give us money so we could make bread to feed people. Mm-hmm. So we always feed the homeless and hungry. I mean, we do that daily. We've done that for 30 plus years. But now they can get not day old, they can get fresh. And so we're partnering with people and charities that are actually making food. And then we're giving them an account, a wholesale account. So when the people give for every $100, they get an extra 15, they get a 15% discount from retail. So those dollars go further. So that's another way that we pivoted. And then we're starting something new this week. Our son and daughter-in-law live way the heck out, and we don't deliver out there. So they said, hey, what if we did the delivery? So we're taking orders for their neighborhood, and then they're going to come pick them up, and they're going to be the distributor. And if that model works, we may go into other far out areas and do that, find people to do the same thing. And I actually think that's going to work. I actually like that idea. So we've come up with 3 new ways. Well, buying a pie was an old way, but pushing the pies is kind of new. Pushing the pies in April is kind of new. And nothing says love more than a pecan pie from Three Brothers Bakery.
I'm with you on that pecan pie. That's got to be my favorite type of pie. I want to bring Dr. Durnovo into the conversation here. Maya, we heard that word again, and we're hearing it a lot with all of the people I'm speaking with that you're bringing on our show, is the word pivot. If you're a small business owner or just any business owner, it sounds like in order to survive in these times, you have to do things differently or pivot, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we've got several examples of that. We've got one of the graduates from the Goldman Sachs program. We have a distillery
at the college.
He pivoted,
and the reason that I wanted to invite Rudy today was to talk about
who did that, and now he's in full production for sanitizers. So that's another example. But there are several of them. So it really is important to be able to do that. And many thanks to Janice for being as generous as she has been, because she's not only found ways to sustain her own business, but she's reaching back and helping other small businesses do the same. She's going to be speaking to the alumni from the Goldman Sachs program in just a couple of days, sharing her experience and how she has pivoted and found new outlets.
And how many graduates are you looking at now, like Janice, in the program that you can, you guys, several hundred, are we talking here?
So we're talking 750 or 752. Yeah, we're right up there. We've been in existence now for 10 years. Originally, when we got the grant, it was supposed to be for 5 years, and then they kept extending it. And now,
just as you were talking about what's happening
it's really
at the college
program.
And the reason that I wanted to invite Rudy today was to talk about.
We've got some business advisors who are working one-on-one with each business owner to help them develop that business plan or that growth plan. And that becomes so critical, as Janice was sharing, to access capital, but it's also your roadmap, how you're going to move forward. So it really is an extraordinary program.
And how is your operation? How have you guys changed the delivery of these classes and mentoring with COVID-19 now that we're all doing things online?
Yeah, so we've had to pivot and offer the program online. Previously, the program was all during one day on a Friday.
Sure, just as you were talking about what's happening at the,
to be sitting
at the
in front of the
college.
computer. So
And
now
the reason that I wanted to invite Brittany today was to talk about
day. But yeah, it's a shift for everyone, not just for the folks that are delivering the program, but the folks that are receiving it, because you don't have that ability to connect with everyone if it's online. So it's a change, it's not necessarily an easy one.
And if someone is looking to get involved with the program, can they start now, or when can they sign up? How do they do so? What are the deadlines?
What a great question. Thank you. So the next class will start on September the 2nd, and the deadline is June the 4th. So all you have to do is go to hccs.edu/small business. There's a link there for the Goldman Sachs application, and you can apply and start the next class in September. And I'm hoping by September that things will have loosened up a little bit, and it may be a mixture of online and in person, but we're still going to have to figure that out. It's like the rest of the economy has to figure out how to move forward.
That's an excellent point that you bring up, because we're all trying to figure out, what are our work lives going to look like when we do return to the buildings? Is it going to be a mixture of this online and also in person? And Janice, I'm going to ask you, how do you think this is going to change your operations? I mean, obviously all businesses have to look at things differently on how they're going to deliver their goods to the public.
I think, just for us, just starting with us, our model was more like a grocery store where you walk in and you buy your baked goods and you leave. So the thing that we lost was the dine-in capability, which was a smaller part. And then we also lost all our wholesale, which was the restaurant business. And so for us, I don't think it's quite as bad. I think what's going to change for us is growth. How are we going to grow? I think originally we want to, blanket Three Brothers Bakery around Houston, Texas, and that may not be in the cards right now. And I think also for restaurants, when you look at a place, we were already looking at smaller square footage because of the third-party delivery. People don't want to go out; they want to just have it delivered to their home. So the place that we were looking at when we went for the loan was going to be this big 5,000 square foot place, and I thank God every day that we don't have that, because that space really, if I were going to get it now, it would be 2,500, 3,000 square feet of space. So I think you're going to really have to look at your growth. I think you're going to, one thing that really concerns me for restaurants that are already established, you do your math based on tables and how many covers you do and how many times you turn it over. And then that's how you figure out your space and your rent. But the rent, if it's not going to be less, but you can't put as many people in the restaurant, how is that math going to work? It's not going to work. And so I was telling my husband this morning, I said, I bet most all new leases will become a percentage lease. Yeah. Because then if something happens and you have no revenue, guess what? The landlord's in this too, and they don't get any money either.
Right, because there's been a lot of discussion that when restaurants do open up, of course, no major plan has been announced, but you would think it's going to include limiting seating, maybe only seating a third or half of your capacity. And as you just pointed out, excellent point, these restaurants work on a mathematical formula, and that's going to throw all that out the window for their business plan.
I listened to a Planet Money podcast a few months back, and I have a degree in social work. Okay, this whole business thing I've had to learn. And then the restaurant thing I've had to learn. And there's a whole psychology just on table placement and how you get, they explained to me that table placement is really what a restaurant is doing is renting space for people to eat at. And I thought that was a really good analogy. And so if you can't rent as many spaces, then guess what? You're not going to have as much money. Because everybody comes at the same time. Everybody gets hungry at lunch and dinner and breakfast.
Janice, if folks want to order one of your pies, where can they go to? And do you have locations that are open limitedly right now?
So online, we're at threebrothersbakery.com, and it's either the word or the number. And we have 3 locations. One is at Braeswood and Stella Link. Another one is by Memorial City Mall behind Memorial Hermann Hospital parking. And then we have one on Washington Avenue by Shepherd, and they're all open for, you come in, look in the showcase, we put it in the box or bag, and then you leave, and we've got little markers, where you stand now. And it's not quite what it's not that cohesive family thing that we used to have, but we still hear you, and we still want you, and we still love you, and we appreciate your business.
Well, Janice, we appreciate you being here on the show today. Janice Jucker, the co-owner of Three Brothers Bakery. We're so appreciative of having you on the HCC team. You're a shining light.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And Maya, another great show. Thanks for bringing more guests to the show, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
All right, I'm now joined by Brittany Pacheco, our co-host, who is live from her nerd room again. Brittany, you said you made some changes in that room the other day. Can you point them out to us?
Sure, Todd. I think the only one simple change, added a little bit more color on the wall, is right here, right behind me. Texas flag.
Okay, all right. I was going to say pictures were new, but yeah, it's a little subtle things. But you got to give a shout out to Texas. That's a good thing there.
Born and raised. That's home right there.
So tell me what's going on in social media. Anything you've been getting over the weekend? Any questions reoccurring that have been coming up for you?
We've had a couple of questions in regards to future registration dates for fall 2020. As of right now, students, fall registration opens on May the 4th. Now, if anything changes, we'll be sure to relay that information on our HCC website to your emails as well as social media. But for right now, again, fall 2020 registration should open on May 4th. Summer registration is currently underway. I know we had some developments over the weekend from the governor about higher institution as well as all educational buildings are closed for the rest of the academic year. But we have already decided that summer classes would be offered 100% online. So if you're interested in enrolling at HCC, you can do so by going to hccs.edu/now to look at our summer course listing.
Yeah, and a lot of folks are wondering how this would affect us with the governor's order, and we've already had in place that we were going to be delivering classes online throughout the summer. The big question people are wondering, okay, I'm going to register for the classes in the fall, but will I be attending them in person or online? And right now, we just don't know. We do know we are going to have classes in the fall, but we're still getting there right now. We won't know it really until the state opens back up for good, that all of us can start doing business in person.
That is absolutely correct, Todd. As always, we've been following the directions of our leadership, not only at HCC, but the city, the state, and the federal level. So I know everyone is eager to get back into their normal routines of going to places and going back to school, going back to work, having their kids be at their schools instead of, home teaching. I'm sure that's very difficult. I know my husband, who is a teacher, misses all of his kids in his classroom, and it's just very different. But once we cross this bridge of summer, we'll look more into what's going to happen with fall 2020 at HCC.
It's changing. It's not, it does change daily, it seems. I know when this crisis started happening, literally, you could go out for lunch or, go have lunch on your own somewhere and then come back and everything had changed. They'd shut down some more locations, but things were changing literally by the hour and new announcements were coming out every day. Now it just seems like we're getting to a point where we're just waiting for more restrictions to be lifted. And those seem to be happening, but not as quickly as everything shut down.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, think about the rodeo. The rodeo was already underway when NRG and Rodeo Houston made the announcement about they were shutting down that very day at 4:00, and all the attendees were just kind of like, what's going on? So yeah, it's been a really big adjustment. I know we're almost at that 30-day marker from the city of Houston, having us stay at home. Hopefully, that'll be lifted at some point, but it's going to be gradual. So everyone out there, just, pack some patience, still be courteous and kind to one another, especially to all of those who work the front lines at the grocery store, who are sanitizing, just people in general. It doesn't really matter what the profession is. Just remember to be kind and pack a lot of patience at this time. Some other things that are going on social media, Todd, are right here with our very own HCC Student Life. They will be having their live noon Facebook chat. They've got a lot of fun things going on. I know Carl Mays and all the other Student Life coordinators have been working very hard to make sure that students still have that student life experience, even though it's online. So be sure to join back here at noon on Facebook with Student Life for their live chat.
Yeah, and they'll answer your questions live. A lot of folks give them shout outs. It's a lot of fun. Usually goes on right at noon, so make sure you catch them live, or you can catch the recorded version on Facebook after. A lot of folks still have some thoughts about graduation. We're holding one, and I can tell you there's a team of folks here at HCC who are working behind the scenes to present an online graduation. A great presentation for all of you. And just to honor our graduates who are finishing up the semester, it'll happen on May the 22nd.
That is correct, Todd. This is the very first virtual commencement ceremonies for HCC. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to go off without a hitch, hopefully. So, yes, students, we know this isn't the conventional way of having commencement ceremonies, and the in-person ceremony is canceled. However, please participate in the virtual graduation that's going to be held on May 22nd. You still have some time to register and make sure that your name appears in the printed program. Yes, we will be having a printed program. So again, make sure that you have registered, you've met all your deadlines, you've applied for graduation. You do not want to delay. However, if you are willing to wait just a little bit longer, we will be offering the opportunity for spring graduate students to participate in the December commencement ceremonies, hopefully, once we're back and things are running normally.
Yeah, in December ceremony, you can walk if you'd like to take place in that, and we're going to be back with it. I'm just confident in that. Let's start thinking positive thoughts. We'll be back, walking in those ceremonies. For information on the COVID situation and HCC's involvement with our students, our faculty and staff, a couple of websites for you. One is hccs.edu/health-notice, and that's one that'll have information for faculty, staff, and students. And there's also one, Brittany, for the students.
Absolutely. And before I share the link for the specific student resources, the health-notice URL is really, really helpful, especially when it comes down to major announcements that the college has made that some people might have missed out on or just need to go back and reference, especially when it comes to our grading policy, Todd, because we just temporarily have changed our grading policy to accommodate for this crisis that we're facing right now. So just be sure you stay up to date with hccs.edu/health-notice. But for students, specific resources available to you can be found at hccs.edu/COVID-19 students. That's where you can find information about TSI testing, financial aid disbursements, counseling in general. This has been a very trying time for a lot of people. So we have these resources available to you right at your fingertips. Just become very familiar with that page and all of its resources. And if you do have any questions, you can always go to the virtual lobby, which is available to you at the bottom of every HCC page. It's a floating bar. It's the little blue button at the bottom right that says virtual lobby. If you have any very case-specific questions that you need answered, you can certainly have send your questions and comments, and a team member will get back to you as soon as humanly possible. And just keep in mind, we are experiencing a high volume of questions and comments being asked at this time, so we do appreciate your patience during this time.
But that virtual lobby is great for very individualized questions where you want a specific answer that's just pertaining to you. It may not pertain to or be included in an FAQ. So that virtual lobby, once again, on homepage hccs.edu, scroll to the bottom and click on the tab that says Virtual Assistance. Brittany, that about wraps things up for today's show. Thanks for being here. Tomorrow, we got a great show coming up. We've got Dr. Shantae Graves will be here answering some questions. And we also have one of our international students, Yatsen Yolasio, who's a part-time intern and student, but he's also one of the essential employees needed at the Bush Intercontinental Airport. And he'll be talking about his experiences there and being an essential employee working at an airport. You wonder if it's just dead at the airport right now.
Yeah, actually, my neighbor across the way from my apartment, she works for one of the car rental places at Bush, and she says it's been interesting. So I'm very interested to hear what Yatsen has to say from his perspective, and then also how it affects him as a student.
Well, we also have his student story that's playing in our social media. You can look for it on our YouTube channel and subscribe to that YouTube channel when you're there. And also on Facebook as well. He's got a great story talking about his experiences, but he'll be here live on the show tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today on Up to the Minute. Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Todd. See you tomorrow.
Have a good day.